My brother asked me to become the legal guardian of his son. I agreed, but with one condition, a paternity test. Now, everything is different. I'm 28, a high school teacher, and I have an older brother, 30. 2 weeks ago, he came to me with an unexpected request. He and his wife, who's 29, wanted me to take on the responsibility of caring for their 6-month-old son. My brother's job was taking him to another city, and his wife, who's battling stage 2 liver cancer, spends most of her time in the hospital for chemo treatments. He couldn't turn down this job opportunity. It paid better than his current one, and he needed the money to cover her medical bills. But his in-laws, who'd agreed to care for her while he worked away, were aging and unable to manage both his wife and child. So, he turned to me. We have no other family. Our parents passed away when we were young, so we've been each other's support system. That made his request so hard to refuse. How could I say no to the only family I have left? Still, there was a part of me that hesitated. You see, rumors had always followed my sister-in-law. We live in a small town where news spreads like wildfire, and a few years ago, before they even got married, I overheard something unsettling. One of my coworkers mentioned that her cousin had gotten into serious legal trouble over a paternity fraud scandal. People were whispering that my sister-in-law had been involved in some way, helping cover it up. They said she'd connected her best friend to her cousin, who worked at a hospital and was taking money to conceal the truth. A scandal that ended with one woman in legal trouble and my sister-in-law walking away unscathed. I didn't know the full story, but the name that kept coming up was hers. Of course, I didn't say anything to my brother at the time. I didn't want to interfere in their happiness. He was convinced the rumors were just that, rumors. He trusted her, and they got married. I stayed quiet, not wanting to create tension between us, especially when their son was born a year later. But when my brother asked me to become the legal guardian of his baby, the past came rushing back. Was there something I was missing? I couldn't ignore what I'd heard. So, I set a boundary. I wouldn't agree to be the guardian unless he first got a paternity test. It wasn't that I didn't trust him, but I didn't want to risk complications down the road. He wasn't happy about it. He said I was doubting his wife, but I held firm. After some back and forth, he reluctantly agreed to the test. But then, nothing. 2 weeks went by, and I heard nothing from him. Then, out of nowhere, he called. He told me I didn't need to sign anything anymore. The move was off. I was stunned. What had happened? Why the sudden change? I asked him, but he just told me to mind my own business before hanging up on me. That wasn't like my brother at all. He was always polite and calm. So, what had changed in the last few days? I didn't know what to do, so I waited. But after a day, I decided to take matters into my own hands. I called my sister-in-law. She answered quickly, but before I could even speak, she started yelling at me, accusing me of ruining her marriage. What had I done? Why was she so upset? Something was wrong, but what? I can't help but think that my insistence on the paternity test has uncovered something that my sister-in-law has been hiding. What if I've opened a Pandora's box? It hurts to think that, by trying to protect myself, I may have ruined my brother's marriage, especially since his wife is going through such a difficult time with her cancer. Did I make a mistake? Should I have just trusted him and not demanded that test? I never imagined it would escalate like this. Maybe I was too focused on my own concerns, too afraid of getting involved in something messy. But now, I'm left wondering if I've done more harm than good. Update 1. Thank you for all your kind messages. I'm glad to know not everyone is judging me for wanting to protect myself. I spoke to my brother today. After I insisted on the paternity test, he went home and told his wife what I'd asked. That's when things really started to unravel. He thought it would be a straightforward conversation, one where he simply suggested a paternity test to clear up any doubts. After all, he never imagined his wife would react the way she did. She was so vehemently opposed, so completely against the idea, that he couldn't wrap his head around it. Her response was sharp, cutting even. She claimed that asking for a paternity test was insulting. It wasn't just a question anymore, it was an accusation, a betrayal of everything they'd built. She told him that it implied he thought she was a scammer, and even worse, that she had been scamming her own husband. That's when the warning bells started ringing in his mind. Why was she reacting so intensely? What was she hiding? And yet, there was more. Her objections were emotional, too emotional. It made no sense to him. Why would a simple test to confirm something become such a battleground? Her behavior was enough to raise suspicion in him, and after days of battling with his own thoughts, doubt gnawed at him. Could it be? Was there something more to her strange reaction? So, he made a decision, one he hadn't anticipated. Without telling her, without even mentioning it, he decided to go ahead with the paternity test. He didn't know what he was walking into, but somewhere deep down, he hoped that he wouldn't find anything he didn't want to know. But, as anyone could guess by now, the results shattered his world. The test came back with a match that confirmed his worst fears. His brother was the father of the child he'd been raising for years. He was not the father. The first test had left him stunned, but he wasn't about to let that be the final answer. He went back for a second test, just to make sure, just to confirm there had been no mistake. But the second test came back the same. His world, once solid, was now crumbling around him. What did that mean for him? For his marriage? How could he face the truth? The truth that, for years, had been hidden in plain sight? He had been blind to it all. He'd ignored the rumors. He dismissed every warning sign, even when I had cautioned him about her. And now? Now, it was clear, everyone else had been right, and he had been wrong. A few days later, with his heart pounding and his mind racing, he confronted her. At first, she denied everything, denied it all, but there was no escaping the undeniable truth. The test didn't lie. He wasn't the father of the child he'd loved and cared for. After a long, agonizing silence, she finally broke down and confessed. It had happened years ago, back when they were newlyweds. She had had an affair with one of her friends when he was out of town. That affair led to her pregnancy, but she never told him, not then, not ever. She had kept it a secret, convinced that revealing the truth would destroy their marriage. And once she was pregnant, she knew she couldn't be with anyone else. She was already tied to my brother, financially, emotionally, in every way, and that was enough for her to stay. But was it love? The truth was even worse. She had orchestrated the first paternity scam. She confessed that she had put her best friend in touch with her cousin, who worked at the hospital, to ensure the results would say what she wanted them to say. And it worked. That is, until her friend's husband did what my brother never would have, he got a second test from a different hospital. That's when the truth came out. It was all true. Everything people had said about her. Everything I'd warned him about. It was all true. And yet, knowing the full story, I couldn't help but feel disgusted by her actions. How could she have put my brother through this? She knew the consequences of cheating and lying, yet she still chose to go through with it. She went through all of it, with no regard for the man who loved her, who trusted her. I'm glad I pushed my brother to get that paternity test. If I hadn't, he may never have known. The betrayal would have remained hidden forever. She had no job when they married, and once they tied the knot, she decided she wanted to stay at home, while my brother worked to support her. It wasn't love that kept her with him. It wasn't that she had finally fallen in love with him, it was that she had nowhere else to go once she found herself pregnant. My brother was her safety net. And, if you ask me, he was right, that's the real reason she stayed. She was never in love with him. She stayed because he provided for her, believed in her, trusted her completely. She never deserved that. I kept quiet for so long. I knew there was something off about her. But what could I say? What could I do? My brother was so in love with her, and their future seemed so bright. They were about to have a child. I couldn't ruin that. I stayed silent. But now, with the truth finally coming out, I regret that. I should have said something. I should have stopped him from marrying her before any of this could happen. My brother has filed for divorce and full custody of his son. His wife is devastated, of course. She insists she loves him now, but there's no coming back from this. No matter what she says, what she claims, the truth is undeniable. My brother deserves better. And as painful as it is to admit, I stand by his decision. But here's the kicker. I just learned that the friend she cheated with, the real father of her son, had been involved in their lives, actively, up until recently. Can you believe that? He's the same man who had been an old friend of hers, the one she cheated with all those years ago. And all this time, my brother had trusted her implicitly, never questioning her. But now, he's regretting every single moment he spent trusting her, every year he spent defending her to everyone around him. The truth hurts, doesn't it? Listening to him vent about it was gut-wrenching. He's not the only one who feels sick about all of this. How could she keep in touch with him? How could she live this lie? Invite this man and his wife into their home, while my brother raised his son? It's revolting, and yet, it was all her reality. I'm heartbroken for my brother. And I can't stop thinking about how different everything might have been if I had just been more forceful in opening his eyes before all of this happened. But now it's too late. All I can do is stand by him as he picks up the pieces of his life, even though I feel like I should have done more. It's heartbreaking to watch, but the truth is out now. And the truth always comes with a price. What will become of this relationship between my brother and his son now? I can't help but wonder. This situation is bound to take a toll on him, mentally, emotionally. How could it not? He's been living at home with his son, and his wife? She's moved in with her parents, but she visits every single day, begging for forgiveness, desperately trying to convince him not to leave her. I can't even imagine how crazy difficult this must be for him, saying no to a literal cancer patient after everything they've been through together. How does one just turn away after so many years of love and memories? I know he still loves her. Even after everything, after all the lies, the betrayal, and the deceit during her pregnancy. I could hear it in his voice today, as he reminisced about the good times they shared. But, what's left of those moments now? I wish there was something I could do to help him, but I'm stuck. My hands are tied. The most I can offer is to help by babysitting my nephew, so my brother can focus on work, on earning more to give his son the life he deserves. I want him to have everything, the world, something better than this tangled mess of lies. But honestly, I don't think my brother will get full custody of his son, no matter how hard he tries. Will the court ever truly believe a father is the better guardian when the mother is so ill? They'll want the child to spend as much time as possible with his mother, especially if her health keeps deteriorating, and as far as I know, it's only getting worse. Her cancer, it's been steadily progressing for months. At this point, I don't even know how to feel anymore. Conflicted? Angry? Guilty? I tried to warn him. I really did. But he didn't listen. He wouldn't hear it when I tried to tell him the truth about her. But am I really in the wrong here? Should I have pushed harder? Should I have spoken louder? I feel the weight of it all. My brother, everyone involved, has failed my nephew. We've all messed this up. And, despite everything, I just hope we all come out of this as better people. Update 2. It's been a week and a half since my brother last visited, and he's been completely caught up in work. Today, he dropped by and asked me to watch my nephew for a couple of hours. He needed to go see his lawyer urgently. I agreed, of course. It's the least I can do when he's in such a state. When he returned, he told me something that made my blood run cold. His wife had told her friend, her real son's father, the truth. And now, that man is willing to fight for custody too, if my brother doesn't give in to his wife's terms. The audacity. The nerve of her. She's still trying to patch things up with him. Can you believe that? After all that's happened, after everything she's done, she's still trying to manipulate him, guilt-trip him, even by playing the cancer card. She actually said she wouldn't be around much longer, and he should let her spend the last months of her life peacefully, instead of being so selfish and messing everything up with legal proceedings. Selfish? Isn't she the selfish one? This isn't about getting back at her. The custody battle isn't about retribution, it's about protecting his rights as a father, to make sure her friend doesn't swoop in and take his son, just because he's the biological father. But she doesn't get that. She sees it all as a personal attack against her. My brother didn't flinch, though. He's made up his mind. He told her, point blank, that he was done defending her, done protecting her lies. Done. He fought against everyone who called her a gold digger, a scammer, but now the truth is undeniable. She cheated on him. She used him. And he's not going to let her manipulate him anymore. The fight between them got worse after that. She showed up a few days ago, trying to convince him to stop the legal proceedings, but my brother stood firm. He said no. He's not changing his mind. The marriage is over. He believes she got her friend involved out of spite. How crazy is that? The drama never seems to end. And now, I have no idea how her friend's wife is going to react. What is she even going to say when she finds out? They've only been married for 4 months. 4 months. And now they're all tangled in this insane mess. I'm glad my nephew doesn't know any of this. He's blissfully unaware, and for now, that's the way I want it to stay. I hope it stays that way forever. The poor kid doesn't deserve any of this chaos, not at his age. Not with all this madness swirling around him. Update 3. Things have taken another turn. Today, my sister-in-law showed up at my house to see my brother. She had been trying to get in touch with him, but he's been avoiding her, so she knew he'd likely be here. I wanted to turn her away. I really did. But she looked so sick, so weak, that I couldn't bring myself to shut the door in her face. My brother, however, took over and invited her in. He told her to make it quick because he had to leave for work soon. What followed was one of the most uncomfortable moments of my life. I was in the room with them. Eavesdropping, really, but what could I do? It was right there, all in front of me. She was pleading with him, asking him to allow her to have joint custody. Joint custody? After everything she's done? She got rid of her friend from the situation, but her emotions got the better of her, and in the end, she admitted the truth, she cheated on him. She told my brother that she had made peace with the divorce and wasn't going to contest it. But she just needed to see her baby. Her cancer had worsened. It's at stage 3 now. I couldn't help but feel a pang of sympathy for her, but my brother, he wasn't having it. He told her that all he could offer now was supervised visits, once a week. She didn't like it. Who would? But she knew she had no other choice. After a long silence, she agreed. It was clear that the court would have mandated the same thing anyway. But the divorce? That's still going through. And I don't know what the future holds for my brother or my nephew. All I can do is pray it's better. They deserve better.